Hello,
Hi.
welcome back to Tea in a Chat.
With Harry and Pat, thanks for being here.
Thanks a bit. You know, I have to say, I feel like you have to warm your voice into this podcast, you know.
Why?
I don't know, I was editing the podcast yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. Whenever it was, earlier in the week. And at the start of the podcast, your voice is always really quiet. And then by the end of it, because your voice has warmed up through talking, it's there.
Sorry, I should have done a vocal warm-up.
Yeah. You mean you don't do a vocal warm? Perfect. Yeah, you keep going. We'll just 5 minutes of this to start. Don't stop. What else?
I don't know anything
Tongue
else.
twisters.
What's the one we did last night?
We did a few.
Giddy goddesses gather together in gossiping garrulous groups.
Hey, it's pretty good, that.
Thank you.
Pretty good. Anyway, today's podcast. Oh, should we chat about drinks?
Yeah, what are you doing?
What am I doing? You see, this is what happens when you put me in charge.
I've got tea, everyone. Do you know what? I've got the same as I've got in every podcast. I've got English breakfast tea in my pink mug that Harry's sister got me with two cute little bears on. It says, "Today I need a hug." Because every day I need a hug.
And a slurp.
Okay. You can't talk because what drink do you have?
Well, I actually just wanted to... I've turned the volume up on the mic there. Can you hear that a bit better now, can you?
Yeah, so it's not me being quiet, it's you not turning the mic up.
It's a bit of both. The thing is, my voice is... And I'm also sat a bit closer than you. So
Yeah, why?
because you've got to balance it out. I am relaxed. I'm very relaxed. You know what happens if I get relaxed? I talk really quietly. You pull me up on that all the time.
Sometimes when we're teaching and Harry's in his own little world, he's like... I'm like,
Exactly.
shout! There's 40 kids in here.
This is, on the podcast is where we flip.
I know.
No, but you say you don't always have a tea. You've often had a chai in these episodes.
Yeah, but chai o'clock's not until like 3-ish. 2, 3.
That's brilliant.
So it's not chai
No,
time.
but my point is you have had, not just tea on the pod. Contrary to your comments. Anyway, I've got lemon water, which I actually occasionally have on this.
It's not called lemon water in a chat though, is it? You're letting the team down.
Well, I've had a cup of tea not long ago. I had a coffee earlier today. I'm drinking lemon water. Don't come at me. We don't judge. Drink what you like. I bet you there's people listening to this who are drinking pints.
That's fine, that's the Christmas special.
Yeah, especially if you listen to it on
Pint in
Friday.
the chat.
Yeah, well, I said mulled wine, but you don't like mulled wine.
It's alright.
Oh, sadness.
I'd rather drink something else though.
I love mulled wine.
Bailey's hot choc.
Bailey's hot choc is good. Bailey's hot choc.
BL. Any other kind
Hot chocolate
of wine.
to everybody else. We have a few isms, I feel, don't we?
Everyone knows what hot choc is, so don't
Yeah, I know, but still. What was it I said? We were doing the shop. You're doing the online shop on your phone earlier today, and for some unknown reason, we call mouthwash wash mouth.
Yeah,
And
wash
you,
mouth.
and you were like, "Is there anything else we need?" And I said, "Yeah, we need some wash mouth." And you typed that in.
And then I was like, what is it actually called? Like, I couldn't.
Oh,
How funny.
yeah. Anyway, we've done our drinks. We've done our usual rabble. Today's podcast, following on from last week's, is putting your best foot forward in an audition.
This is perfect to follow up from Catherine's episode.
Absolutely.
If you haven't listened to Catherine's episode, you have to go back and listen to it
Yes,
because
the one just before this one. She's a casting director with a lot of experience and knowledge, and I mean, it was just a brilliant little pod, wasn't it, that we did with her. Really informal, really good insight and information to use when you want to put your best foot forward in an audition, which is why we're recording this one now after we've chatted with Catherine. So let's just jump into it. So, looking at our notes here, the first thing we have written down is a quote, quite a famous quote, I feel, this, from Benjamin Franklin. I'm probably going to abbreviate this a little bit, but I don't know if there was a speech. But anyway, the quote is, "Fail to prepare, prepare to fail."
And if you've been watching I'm a Celeb recently, Mr. Tony on that likes to say it a lot.
Just FYI, we're recording this right at the very end of November, because I think this will be coming out around near the...
Yeah, it's fine. If you've been watching I'm a Celeb, they'll know.
Yeah. But anyway, yes. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail, which I think goes for many, many, many things in life, to be honest, but particularly in an audition. I mean, this makes me want to ask you, as a dancer, I know obviously you have your training and everything, but do you often have to prepare things to go into an audition with?
No.
As a dancer?
9 times out of 10. Like, you obviously have to prepare, have your, like, headshot, your CV sorted. You would always, like, I've never had to sing in an audition, but you would always just go with 16 bars cut just in case they ask. Like, that sort of thing, you'd prepare, but most of the time it's you go in, do an open call, and or like you learn choreography there, you leave there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Interesting, yeah, because having done a few different auditions as an actor, I feel like, or I guess an actor-musician, because I've auditioned for musicals as well. Obviously those you generally have to prepare songs and maybe a bit of text, or plays you might have to have a bit of text as well. But I've never had to do like headshot stuff or...
You never taken a headshot or a CV to an audition?
Not. No, never.
Ever?
Never. I've never had to. It's always in front of them. They've already got it.
But you don't... That is blowing my mind.
Why?
I've never gone to an audition and not taken my headshot and CV.
I've never had to take one, never.
That's the first part of getting there, is you give them your headshot and your CV.
No.
Oh my god, this is why it's good that both of us are on here, because it's different worlds, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Because for me, as an actor or an actor-musician, I'm going to probably use a few different examples in this pod. Agents put you up submitted you for the job, and then they've requested you to come in, which obviously must happen with dancing as well to an extent. Or do you they submit you and you go? I don't really know how it works.
Depends on the job.
Because I think 99.9% of the time, I mean, I've never actually been to an open call for anything as an actor, in which you probably would take your headshot and your CV, but everything I've been to, I've been called in for. So they've seen... Ooh. But that's just... I feel like that's just the nature of it. That's the difference. Right?
No, you do have private... Like, so they're not private calls, would be like invitationals where you would like submit your headshot and CV and whatever else, or your agent would do that, and then if they want to see you, they will call you in, but you still have to take another physical copy of your headshot and CV and give it to them.
Fair. No, never had to do that. Never. Interesting.
Crazy. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's... Yeah. Following on from this, which is kind of what we've kind of started to talk about anyway, we've got here... There's not much you control about an audition, not much you can control about an audition, but you can control how prepared you are, i.e. with your literal preparation of whether that's a monologue, a song, something else, your headshot, your CV, all that stuff.
I think there's so much more that goes into it though. Like it's not just the physical things that you have to prepare. It's like, have you researched the company? Do you know what they do? Do you know exactly the show they're casting for? What kind of thing they're looking for?
Yeah.
When was the last time they auditioned? What sort of, like, knowing the show will help you know what to wear, especially on a dance side of things. I don't know.
Oh yeah, well you kind of, for me they either suggest what you should wear or describe a character, and then you dress how you feel would be appropriate, that kind of thing. And
things like having your whatever you're going to wear ready, making sure you're having breakfast in the morning before you go. You've got enough time to get there.
Fuel your body, hydrate your body.
You're making sure you've got, you know how to get to where your audition is.
Plan your route.
It's not
plan
just
your second route.
Yeah, it's not just about having your show reel or your monologue ready or whatever it is that you prepare beforehand.
It's everything. Yeah, it's the whole thing.
It's like making sure that you do not have to think about a single thing
Yeah.
Other than your audition. Everything else is sorted, all your ducks are in a row. Excuse me, I'm going to cough.
It's funny though, like going back to the research in the company or whatever, or the casting director, whatever that may be. For me, that's also very important because you see what they've done or cast or whatever in the past, and that is also a potential opportunity if it comes up for networking as well.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's different again as a dancer, but in some of the auditions I've been in, you can occasionally get that question of, oh, what have you been up to? And you can chat. You get an opportunity to chat and actually be yourself, which is what they're looking for, to see how you are as a person. And again, that question could probably have its own podcast, to be honest, because I think a lot of people feel they have to then talk about performing, what they've been up to in regards to performing. But I very much believe that you could talk about the holiday you've just been on or whatever. They just want to see you talk as a human being and not like, I've come in, I've rehearsed this piece and I'm going to deliver it, or whatever you're doing in your audition. But knowing who's in front of you will probably put you more at ease, because if you said the wrong thing, for example, do you know what I mean? If you knew who was in front of you, you're going to talk appropriately. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm feeling quite excited. I don't know why. I just think auditions are very exciting, and I know, like that.
Harry, for those who don't know Harry in person, Harry's got the energy of like an excitable new puppy. Like, he just loves things, and he's like, it's a great quality to have.
You really think I've got like puppy energy?
Yeah, I think you get, when you're excited about something, don't get me wrong, if you're not excited about something, you're like, angry cat, like, leave me alone, I don't want to do it. But like, if you're excited about something, it's like, yeah, and then we can do this, and then we can, and then if we get this, and then we can talk about this, and then I think it's great. I'm
like an angry cat.
Yeah, if you're like annoyed about something, or like.
Okay. Is there more? I feel like I've been coloured in 2 dimensions.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm either an excitable puppy or an angry cat.
No, there's more. There's more to you than that. I tried.
She's digging herself a hole.
I actually tried to give you a compliment, and you've like turned it into something negative.
No,
so
I haven't turned it. I'm just receiving it authentically as myself. Apparently, like an angry cat. So, I'm just, I'm allowed to receive it and feel how I feel.
And that is where I exit this podcast today. Harry will be finishing it on his own.
Oh, no, she's not going anywhere. What were we talking about? I was being excited. Oh, no, because I was going to say, I'm excited even though I don't have an audition, but quite aptly, I mean, at the time of this recording, you actually have an audition coming up. Yeah,
first one in a while.
So that's to me, that's exciting. I don't know how you feel about it.
To me, it makes me feel nervous.
Which is also a normal part of the audition beforehand. The whole process is can be like that.
I feel like I'm just more nervous because I've not auditioned in a while, but
that's fair enough. But you're professional. You got this. And we're getting to chat about all this stuff right now. It's all going to be fresh in your mind.
I am going to be putting my best foot forward in this edition.
You're damn right.
I'm going to prepare. Actually, I already have been looking.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
This is why it's perfect. So, following on from that, like, we've got here, how do you prepare? We've talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, like everything we said.
So, actually, prepare your literal stuff, do your research, do your roots, all that kind of. I feel like it's almost common sense, but common sense isn't always at the forefront of your mind when you're nervous about something you really care about and you really want to do well in.
Yeah.
You can get a bit clouded and a bit caught up, excited like me right now, or nervous, or everything else, both of those things, or multitude of different things.
It's just, you have to ask yourself, what's going to make me perform my best when I get there?
Yeah.
And making sure you've done all that stuff before you get there so that you can just get in there and do your job as a performer.
Yeah, I guess the point of it is to relax you so you can just go in confident. You don't have to worry about things, because naturally I think we're prejudging ourselves as soon as we find out we've got an audition, I think we're prejudging and thinking, oh, what about this? Oh, what about this? Oh, all these little things. Because we want to do well, naturally. So moving on, which kind of flows in quite nicely, we've got written down here, mindset. Which is a huge part of life, but particularly a huge part of putting your best foot forward in an audition. Because, kind of like we just said, it will affect your confidence and your delivery and your, application within the audition. Because it will. I mean, I've talked about having been a runner where I've not been involved in auditioning per se, but I've been involved with bringing people into the room, taking people out. And you can see and feel the difference in people's energy before and after they go, they do the audition.
Yeah.
And more often than not, in my experience of that, the people who go in feeling relaxed, confident, which is a hard place to get to, I think, but the delivery and the application is so much more concise, and if there's any chat, it's a lot more authentic. Rather than I've heard those conversations where people are like, I don't know, and which is understandable, and I think a lot of panels will understand why you're feeling like that, but it doesn't give an impression of you that is actually you necessarily.
And I think if the word confidence doesn't necessarily, actually I don't believe it means going in and being like, I'm amazing, I'm going to get this job, which is, it's still a good thing to think, but it is more about the mindset side of things.
Well,
like
there's a fine line between confidence and cockiness. Would you say? Oh, I think so.
I don't know. Sorry if you can hear my stomach, by the way. It's making some
Is that you?
funny
I thought
noises.
it was me.
No, I think it's mine. No, I don't know. I don't really like to connect the two. I think they're two different things. I think it can stop people from wanting to be confident and believe in themselves out of fear of becoming cocky. I think it's
interesting.
It's two different things, and I think I really want to encourage people to go in and be like, yeah, I'm awesome, like I am. Like, you can still treat people with kindness and go around the world with kindness, but be really confident in who you are. Anyway, wasn't my point.
Sorry.
My point was, that's okay. It's about the confidence you'll have walking into the room is about the mindset you put yourself in before you go in. So, are you thinking, oh my god, I need a job, that's going to make you anxious, less confident, you're putting yourself in a position of lack, in a position of you need to get something from someone else. Whereas if you think, I'm going in there to audition for this job where they need me as much as I need them, they need someone to fill this role, why couldn't it be me? You know, if I go in and do my best and it's fits what they're looking for, then they're going to hire me. There's no reason why they wouldn't. So why don't I just take a deep breath, be calm, confident, go in there, show them what I can do, the best of my ability, and then having the ability to then let go of that and be like, whatever happens now happens.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, which is can be a very hard place to get to, but it is achievable. And I think as well, from the other side of it, like Catherine was saying in the podcast last week, I sort of feel it's almost compulsory that you've listened to that podcast before you listen to this one. As we keep going through it, she's going to get referenced probably more than once.
Yeah. Hi, Catherine.
Yeah, hi Catherine, if you're listening.
I got my stomach.
But like she was saying, they want the casting director and the panel, they want you to do well. And I think we'd even mentioned this kind of thing briefly before anyway, but to actually hear it from a casting director who is very well informed, very, significant in the process, like, it makes their job easier. Everyone's got the same goal, which is actually our next point. But that means from both sides of the table.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to get this sorted, and I was going to say rectified, but it sounds like there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's not a problem. They want the right person for the role, and
at the end of the day, the casting directors have a job to do.
Could be Catherine.
And
if you're in Scotland.
They have been told 9 times out of 10 by someone else, we're looking for this thing, this ability, this blah blah blah. And the casting directors are the people hiring you on the panel are answering to someone above them. So they're trying to just do their job as well, and they want you to come in and make their job as easy as possible. They want you to just come in and be great and be the best you can be, and then it makes their job easier, if that makes sense.
I think it's really important to try and think about that, because that is more often than not, I imagine, to be the last thing that people would even consider thinking about, because you're obviously going to be very focused on all the stuff we mentioned right at the beginning in our first kind of point of making sure you're prepared. But I would say this is also arguably a part of that preparation, is to remind yourself that they're rooting for you. You're on the same side, because it will help put you at ease. I think we've all been in a room. If you've auditioned, you will have been in a room where it feels like, or you've at least convinced yourself that the panel are against you, and they might be asking you to do things that you find really hard. But that's not because they want to see you fail.
Yeah.
That's because they want to see more of you. If anything, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think if you're getting asked to do things that you're finding difficult, whatever it may be, that's probably a good thing. It's also giving you more of a chance to showcase yourself if you're in a group scenario, if you're in an individual scenario, whatever it may be. It's significant in a good way, I would say.
Yeah.
If they're not interested, they're not going to ask to see any more of you in any which way. They're going to be like, cool, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to remind yourself that everyone's working towards the same goal, you're on the same team, and the panel want you to do well, because it makes everything easier, doesn't it? And I do think that is a big thing that can help you feel more confident, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. I guess as well with that is, I mean, I don't know how often as an actor you audition with other people. Is it kind of more...
Occasionally.
Well, anyway, from a dancer perspective, I think you can be like, yeah, I'm going in for me, I'm going in for me, like I'm thinking about myself, going to do the best I can do, whatever. And you get in there and there's 500 people and they're all in different outfits and they've got their hair a different way, and you suddenly start to think, oh, should I have done that? And then you start dancing and they're really good and you're like, oh, no, that's it, I'm done, because they're better than me. And it instantly takes you out of that place, and it's like you don't know what the casting director is thinking or what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for exactly what you have to offer. It's not that the other people aren't great, but maybe they're just not the right fit for what they're hiring, and you don't know that. And by comparing yourself, it instantly takes you out of place to get that job, because you're like, no, I'm not as good as them, so it's going to affect how you dance, perform, whatever.
That is so wonderfully apt, because the next thing we've got written down is no comparing.
I know, that's why I said it.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about it.
No, I was going from the list.
Well, I like to read the points out loud, you see.
Oh, man. We have prepared to fail. No, prepared.
No, we've done our preparation, and I'm delivering it in one way, you're delivering it in another. That's fine.
No, I'm just saying we prepared with our list. We've done well.
Yeah, we just didn't chat about it before.
No.
We never, as you know, these pods are authentic. But yes, yeah, so don't compare. It's really interesting to me, though, as you were saying that, like, because obviously as an actor it's a different kind of process, generally speaking. When you get to your audition, do you often find yourself looking around and thinking, oh, they look like me, or that kind of thing, or is it... Because I guess you're trying to stand out in a crowd in a way.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I mean, one of the things I was told when I was training, which I don't disagree with this advice necessarily, but to go wearing whatever you're wearing, whatever you want to audition in, and when you get there, if there's someone wearing something similar that you look really similar, like say another brunette who's wearing a top that really looks like mine, take outfits with you and change so that they can. So I don't disagree with that advice, because then the panel, when there's so many of you, know you as the brunette in the pink top. That's just how it They get to know you. So I don't disagree, but I think instantly that puts you in the mindset of, okay, well they're my height, and they're wearing that. Okay, so I'm going to wear this, and you're instantly just comparing what you're doing.
Yeah. Interesting. That is interesting, because for me, if you were in an audition for whatever it may be, and you were told to wear a sort of specific kind of outfit or top, you might be sitting in a waiting room where a lot of people look very similar, all dressed very similar.
That's funny.
And that is kind of what it's like.
Like some sort of sketch,
but you
or
don't.
something.
You don't.
Funny.
For me, I don't really feel like, oh yeah, there's definitely going to be sketches out there about it.
It's an episode of Friends, if anyone watches Friends, where Joey goes in for an audition. Oh, he's got an audition, or no, he wants to do a medical trial where he needs a twin. And he's sat in an audition room being like, where am I going to find someone that looks like me? And it's everyone that's dressed the same as him, like all looking the same. It's funny.
But that's what it's like. For me personally, I mean, maybe there's other actors out there who might feel differently, but I never really compared myself too much, because you kind of are expecting to see people of the same caliber, if you like, the same kind of build, the same kind of height, the same kind of hair colouring, whatever it may be, because it's very specific. You're desperate to do an ASMR episode, aren't you?
Sorry.
That's Zara scratching on the sofa there, for those who might be interested in that.
Maybe I'm the angry cat. Anyway.
Sorry if you find that noise uncomfortable.
I was going to say, that's interesting you say that, because I think that's another way to get your mindset in a good place if you do find yourself comparing, is to be like, well, I'm in the room with them. Like, if I think they're
that's
good,
significant.
Then I'm equally as good or equally as deserving to be here, because I'm at the same audition they are.
Well, that's a fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's literally a fact. If you weren't supposed to be there, you wouldn't be there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you deserve to be in the rooms that you're in, so own it.
Absolutely. I mean, on that as well, this is again another point further down, that own it, have fun with it, which I really believe. And I liken this, I think I've mentioned this before, about my third year showcase, which for a lot of people in training is a big deal, or that kind of point in your third year where agents are involved, whatever it may be. And I very much consciously made the decision I was just going to have fun, because it was just, that's why I'm doing what I do. That's why I ended up going to drama school and performing in general, is because I had fun when doing it. And that's like, you got to think right back to the beginning, to whether you're 3 years old or you're 17 years old or anything in between. When you start to do something because you enjoy it, that is more often than not why you are where you are. And if you have fun with it, you'll give such I believe, a better performance, because it's like you're doing it for your joy of doing it, not for like, oh my god, I need to get this. Or
yeah, definitely.
Even if there's been a part of that in your process of preparation, which there's bound to probably be, but if you have fun, like for me, it took me to a new level, I feel, because I was just being authentically me, having fun and doing what I enjoyed doing.
But again, if you think back to what we were just saying, that's what the panel want to see as well. They don't want to see someone worried and stressing out and trying so hard to get everything right. They want to be like, oh my god, they're having fun. That looks fun. They're making our choreography look fun. They're making
it brings you in. I think it stops people, panel-wise or even agent-wise, in the example I was giving, like sort of assessing, and they just appreciate what you do because you're just doing it in a way. And I think that in turn also helps your confidence. It all correlates together almost naturally.
I also think if you are looking at something and you're like, oh, like you're really nervous and you're finding it hard to find the fun in whatever it is, look back on younger you, like what you were saying. And I think something I'm going to refer this to is when I auditioned for the panels I did and stuff. I so remember we used to go do a panel trip every year with the school, and I remember sitting in the audience watching the dancers being like, that's so cool. That is so cool. Like, that is, I want to do that. That looks so much fun. They're just having a good time. And I think back to, in those auditions, I would think, young me would love that we were auditioning for these things now.
Yeah.
She would go wild. She would
Wouldn't
be
think
like,
twice.
she would have been like, yeah, cool. This is I want this job. I'm gonna go get this job. This will be so fun. And I think to take yourself out of it, like out your own head, and put yourself into something else, into whether that's young you, future you, whatever it is.
I think that's one of the biggest things, isn't it? To actually take yourself out of your head. Because it's a hard thing to do, but I feel like once you do it a couple of times, you'll be like, yeah,
you can do it.
I can do this. Again, that comes into the confidence again, doesn't it? Because you're confident, like, yeah, I've got this. It's just good, isn't it? We've got, we're kind of saying it already, but it's an opportunity to perform, isn't it? Like, that's what we want to do. And just, I think sometimes it can feel like because you're rehearsing in a studio or you're just at a class, you don't get the opportunity to perform. But the reality is quite different. Like that, they are opportunities to perform. Whether that's an audition, you're in a classroom environment, you're in a workshop, you're on the stage. They're all performance opportunities. Just being quantified in different ways, but they are performance opportunities. I think if you think of them like that, everything you do will probably excel, because I don't know, I feel like sometimes you can have people who are like, oh, this is just a classroom thing, I'm gonna do it. But whereas if you were doing it to the best of your ability every single time, which in theory you should be anyway,
you could be
everything. That's better. Could be.
If you really wanted to, you could be. Read Louise Hay's books and anyway. It
will just propel you though, won't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it would make such a difference. The other thing we have here, which I think is maybe perhaps edging into the other side of it a little bit, but maybe not. We've got here, if you do your best on the day and you don't get the job, there's nothing more you can do. It just wasn't meant for you.
It's a poem.
It's a bit, actually. Poem-esque. That was written by Sarah Burgess, for those
Thank you very much.
Interested. She has written other poems before.
No. So, I wholeheartedly believe in whatever's meant to you will come to you eventually. I think we can help that process by doing everything we said, like being confident, being like taking the pressure off, blah blah blah, like putting your best foot forward in the audition, you know. But if you've got two options. You either go in, you do the best you can do, and you leave knowing you've done, do you know what, I'm really proud of myself, I feel like I did my best today. And your best on every day is going to look different, but I've done my best today, I feel good about the audition. Now, if you book the job through that, great. But if you don't book the job, it's not because you weren't good enough or like blah blah, like you, all this self-doubt and things you'll tell yourself. It's just that one wasn't right for you. There's something else. And I know it's so annoying when you're in your 10th edition of the week and you're like, but nothing's right for me. But it is. It's just one of those things, unfortunately, that goes with the industries. You've got to kiss a few job frogs until you get the one that's right for you, you know. And I think on the other side of that, your other option is that the other outcome is that you go in and maybe you're really in your head that day, something happens, because we're all human, it's not going to be perfect all the time.
Absolutely.
And you don't feel like you've done your best. You need to leave that process being like, okay, what did I do that I feel I can do better? What did I do to, did I prepare enough? Was it just really in my head? Am I tired? Did I not get enough sleep? What is it? Have a look at that objectively and see how you can take that into...
Objectively, keyword.
Yeah. Take all the feeling out of it. Be like, what can I do better next time? Because then you can go into the next edition and look at that as okay, well, I didn't do that so well last time, so now I know I can do it better. So instantly, this edition is going to be better.
Yeah. It's quite a hard thing to do. That, I think, or can be. Would you say?
Depends on the person.
Yeah.
For me, I find that a bit easier to do than
Because I think my process would have been I would have probably naturally gone, oh my god, if I'd done this, if I'd done that, when you said take the emotion out of it, that would have been the hard part for me. It would have been very emotionally invested crazy quick. Like, oh my god, did I do this? Did I do it? Oh, yeah.
But I think that's normal, and I think there will be...
Oh, absolutely.
Just to make it clear, I'm not saying don't have that. I think when you come out an audition and you feel any which way about it, you're going to have that initial burst of feeling like, oh, I'm so annoyed at myself. Oh, I don't... Blah, 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 blah,
Or,
blah.
or otherwise, if it's gone really well.
Yeah. Either positive burst of emotion or...
Your natural human reaction to the situation.
Yeah,
based on your
whatever it
feelings
is.
and what's gone on.
Yeah, and I think that's important to feel that and experience that little burst of emotion, but then later in the day after, a week later, whatever it is, sit down and be like, actually, okay.
Yeah, you can...
That sucked. What can I do better?
You've come over that
Yeah.
emotional point of the high feeling, whatever the feeling is, and then you can assess it more objectively.
Yeah. It's definitely not about the, ignoring feelings at all.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Which I wasn't saying you were saying. I know full well you would never say that. It's just interesting, isn't it? The different kind of perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, we were chatting about this as we were writing this down, but I went to an audition once. The first audition went really quite well. And I knew it, I really felt like, I was like, yeah, I've done well. This is good. And I got a recall, which they only did one round of recalls, and then it was like job offering stage. And I went to the recall. So the first audition was just me on my own. The recall was more group scenarios, so doing games and exercises and everything. And it was going really, really well. We then split off into smaller groups within our big group. We split off into smaller groups and had to do a little bit of, it must have been scene work or something. And then we'd come back and do it individually within our little groups. And my little group was one of the last ones to go. And for whatever reason, my energy just dipped and I couldn't bring it back up. And they actually gave feedback to my agent and they were like, Harry's doing so well. And then right at the end, we just don't know what happened. I didn't get the job, which was a shame. But it was funny because I could feel it happening in the moment. It almost like out-of-body experience, I think. And I very much knew that was happening. But then, I guess actually, despite what I said earlier, I was in the moment having that objective assessment of myself, which maybe that was why I couldn't bring my energy up, because I was objectively assessing myself in that moment rather than being like, come on, get your energy back up.
Yeah.
But it was very much a learning experience for me. I went to an audition workshop, like an audition preparation workshop after that, which I think was very successful for me because it solidified that actually I am preparing in a good way already. And it validated that. And I think it helped for future auditions thereafter. But sometimes you have to go through that process, I think. In whichever way that process comes, to discover that you're doing the right thing, or you need to do this more, or whatever it may be. And like we kind of said within the written point here, it just wasn't meant for me, that job. It was meant that I was meant to discover that.
That led you into that other workshop and other things, into other jobs, into other... It's just, it's annoying as it is. You learn something from that, and that's sometimes as beneficial as the job itself. Exactly
what I was going to say, yeah. That's important. It actually makes me think, on a slightly side note, probably back into the preparation thing, as a dancer, do you have to have like anything in your back pocket kind of thing?
What do you mean?
Well, like, for example, in this preparation audition workshop I did, the woman, I think we had to prepare some script or other. I can't really remember. It was a long time ago. But then, I think this happens occasionally in auditions for actors, maybe even singers as well. You get, can you do this? Have you got like a little monologue you can do for it? Have you got a joke you can tell us, that says you can do this accent? Do you know what I mean? Little things that you need to be able to like, yeah, I can do that. Do you have to have, does that make sense?
In some aspects, I guess. I think the thing is with dance auditions, obviously it depends what you're auditioning for.
It's a bit different, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, like I'm referring this to like not musicals. Like I'm referring it to like cruise ships or like just purely dance-based auditions. Like it's not as intimate as your auditions might have been. It's not as Like,
yeah,
you'll, depending on how it is, you'll get down to like the final 20, the final 10, whatever, and they'll either offer you then and there, or they'll get in touch with you, and that's. But there's no sort of like intimate, like they probably still don't know your name by the time you're leaving. That bit comes later. So I think like asking for a monologue or something would be very.
But
weird.
Obviously not necessarily that, but it's like, can you show us this? I don't know.
They might be like, so if there's a show that they want like 32 allisecond turns in, they'd be like, can anyone do allisecond turns? Cool, show me, go.
Yeah.
And if you can do them, you do them. You get that a lot with tricks, like gymnastic tricks, like aerials and flips and whatever. It's like at the end of an audition, they'll say, okay, who can trick? You put your hand up, one by one, come in, do it. But if you can't do it, it's not that you won't get the job, it's just they're casting for a specific role in the show.
Yeah, I think it's the same with acting or, a musical, whatever it may be as well. I don't think they're necessarily trying to catch you out. It's again, goes back to what we were saying before. They wanted to see more of you, they're asking for more in a good way. But I just feel like I remember it's one of those things that you were sort of maybe somewhat told in drama school as well, to have a couple of things in your back pocket, like have a Shakespeare monologue in your back pocket, have a contemporary monologue in your back pocket.
That's why,
like your 16-bar cut.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say at the start. We were always, when we were training, told to have everything just in case. It's like you go to an audition for the Nutcracker, but take your tap shoes just in case. Like, you don't want to be that one person who they say, go put your tap shoes on, and you've not brought them.
Well, that's what you'd be remembered for.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
Yeah, good point.
I'd actually remember that, which, to be fair, it was a cruise ship edition, and it was quite a big cruise ship edition, and it was just, you would always take your tap shoes to a cruise ship edition. And I remember they did a tap round quite early on, and the amount of people, I would say the room was split in half with the amount of people who hadn't brought tap shoes.
Wow.
And I just remember being flabbergasted.
Were those people not brought back?
No, of course not, because they hadn't brought the tap shoes.
Can't really go any further, I suppose, can you?
It's hard because it didn't specify to bring them, but it's almost a bit like, well, if you're a tapper, why wouldn't you just bring them anyway? Like, why? But instantly,
prepare to fail.
Exactly. Instantly, the planner are thinking, well, they must not tap because they don't have their tap shoes. So that's for them. That's just a box that hasn't been ticked. So that's all it is. Anyway, I feel like we've gone off on a tangent. But
No, it's important because we haven't talked about things like that, but you see that as common sense. But, that example, 50% people didn't see that as common sense.
It was crazy, but it's just because the bit of paper had told them not to bring... it didn't
specify.
They hadn't specified that they needed to bring tap shoes, so they brought their heels and their jazz shoes, and that was it.
Yeah. So I guess you just, it's about, again, like we've said in other pods as well, like just have all your tools in your bag sharp and ready to go if you need them, because you just never know when they're going to be pulled out. You never know when you're going to get told to sing that 16-bar cut.
I would probably walk out if they'd asked me to.
No,
I don't want the job that
absolutely not.
Super Trooper.
Is that your 16-bar cut?
That is my 16-bar cut.
Oh. That's, that you would do not walk out of an audition.
No, joking.
Sorry. Bad.
Anyway.
So, moving on to our final point, which we've kind of, I guess, talked about a bit already. You've kind of said it, actually.
It's after the audition, it's really important to feel all the things like we said, but then let it go. Move on. If you've been cut from an audition and you feel rubbish about it, treat yourself to a cheeky donut, whatever, make yourself feel better, go home and binge Friends, whatever you want to do. But then there comes a point where you pick yourself back up and you say, I've got this, and we move on to the next thing. It wasn't meant to be. Equally, if you've got to the end of an audition or you're waiting to hear back from an audition, please do not sit by your phone waiting on the phone call or the email or whatever, because the way the industry is you might never hear, unfortunately.
Yep, absolutely.
Or you might...
Could be waiting a long time.
Yeah. Hello, Moulin Rouge, and still waiting for you. But
but that's true though, isn't it? Like, didn't they say they'd call or be in touch?
Yeah, like what you were saying, a really successful audition, got down to the final lot, like felt really good about it, and it's over a year later.
Never got in touch,
and you just never know. So if I had,
which unfortunately kind of goes with the industry a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, but if I had paused my whole life waiting for this, like, because I convinced myself I was moving to Paris, like if I had paused my whole life holding out for that, I wouldn't have half the things I have now. Like, and like I'm so grateful that I didn't. It's really important to still keep hope for it and be excited about the opportunity that it might bring, but equally still keep going to all the other auditions while you wait to hear. Still keep, you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've always been an advocate of that. It's almost like you do it as part of your life. You do your preparation, you do your research, all that. You do the audition, you move on to the next thing.
Yeah, at that point it's out of your hands. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, and naturally I think you are going to think about it because you care about it. But the more you can just do your bit and carry on with life, it's just, I think it's probably arguably one of the tools you should have in your bag in a way, because it helps you to become emotionally resilient to an extent. Again, emotions are very important. Do not subdue, do not push them down. That's not what I'm saying. But to have a bit of like, cool, I've done my bit. Hello?
Sorry.
I've done my bit. It went good, it went bad, whatever. And then be like, okay, let's move on, let's move forward. And if you get that phone call, you get that email down the line, it's amazing. You can live that excitement in it, whatever. But if you don't, and you don't hear anything, you're getting on with life, so you just carry on. And you may have a period of like, I guess that didn't happen, or whatever. But it will help
I think
move forward.
Yeah, as well with that, like, I feel like maybe this is, like, a lot of people will know this, but just in case you don't, I think it's really important that if you are waiting to hear from a company or from your agent or whatever, it's if they've told you that they'll be in touch if you're successful, you do not need to keep emailing them. You do not need to, unless they have specifically said, email us this over, do this, blah, blah, blah. I think there's people out there who would like, hello, sorry to bother you, but have you thought about it? Or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, don't do that.
Like, yeah, that's not going to help your case, and they'll get back to you when they're ready, and that's a hard bit, because you're sat at home like, well, I'm ready to hear now, so why are you not ready to tell me?
It's one of those things, it's because you're living in your life, in your version of life, in your world, that's all you're thinking about, whereas if you try and think about the casting director or whoever's on the panel, they've then got to sift through all the stuff they've done. If they've been auditioning for a week and seen 1,000 people, they've got to sift through all that and narrow it down to, let's say, 5 or 10. Like, that's a tiny amount of people based on the amount of people they've seen. They're still working. They're still working hard. And if you're bombarding them or getting onto them, you're probably not going to hear anything anyway.
Yeah.
Or if you keep doing it enough, they'll be like, stop.
Yeah.
And you're going to jeopardise your chances if you had one.
I think,
potentially.
Going back to what we said, like, they've got a job to do, and they'll want to get that job done as quickly as possible. So if you're right for it, they'll let you know as soon as they can. You've just got to trust that it's coming.
Absolutely.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. Trust yourself.
Yes.
And you can do it. And the thing is, there's going to be many more auditions down the line anyway. And I think that's, again, if you're getting on with life, you're moving forward, you're doing your classes, your workshops, your work, whatever it is you're doing, the next thing's going to be there before you know it.
Yeah. And the thing is, as well, you can audition for a job, and it can be a year down the line, and you've not heard anything, and you've forgotten about it, and they call you up and be like, oh, we need this person, we remember seeing you last year, blah, blah, blah. Like,
so-and-so's injured themselves, they can't do it.
Like, you never know what's going to happen, so you can't put all your eggs in any basket as a performer. No. I don't feel.
No,
it's like,
absolutely not.
The basket you put them in is yourself.
Yeah. And
you take that basket to everything you can go to, you know?
Absolutely. Which I think is a lovely place to wrap this one up.
My little egg basket.
Your little egg basket. But yeah, I think this is a good pod. An important podcast.
And good to follow on from Catherine.
and absolutely good to follow on from Catherine. Again, if you haven't listened to that podcast, listen to it, because I mean, we were even saying on it, we wish we could have had this conversation back in the day.
45 years ago.
All those years ago, back when we were auditioning. No, well, still auditioning, because you've got one coming up. So
I wish it was Catherine on the panel.
But trust in you, trust in your process, and you'll figure it out, whatever the case. You can always get in touch with us. We're happy to help and advise and talk you through it.
Sounding board, whatever you need.
We're very passionate about it. And if you do want to get in touch, email us or DM us. The email is, I'm going to get this right, I said this wrong in one of the podcasts. I think it's the last one I edited. I didn't say it wrong, I just stumbled over it. Email us at info. Now it sounds like I'm putting the at first. Email us info@quartzacademy.co.uk. God, that's a minute they'll never get back, isn't it?
Or show up at our door with cookies.
Yeah. I'm not going to put our address out there.
No. No, I'm joking.
Cookies are good though. We like cookies. But no, seriously, on a serious note, chat to us. We're here to talk. Talking is very important, which is why we started doing this podcast, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We believe in you. Go smash your next edition.
Yeah, you got this. 100%. Well, we have a couple more episodes coming up after this, and then it's going to be the end of this season, but I think this is our first discussion kind of podcast for this season, because the ones we've got coming up aren't so discussion based, I feel, specifically. Zara's
I am
given me an
so
absolute
confused
look.
by what you mean.
Right.
Every podcast up to this point has been like this.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the next podcast we have coming out is a Christmas special.
Woohoo!
Right, and that's going to be a fun one. We're just going to chat about fun things, experiences we've had, funny stories, whatever it may be. It's not going to be like
it's going to be like, you know how
audition mindset or whatever. And then the one after that, we're going to do 24 tips for 2024. Okay?
But that's going to be performance-based.
Performance-based, but not necessarily a specific discussion-based podcast. I hope that makes sense to all of you. If I didn't do that very well, apparently I didn't. So that's what's coming up. We're very excited. Zara is also very, very excited for the Christmas special one.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Ever since we planned that, or even just mentioned it, you were like, yeah, Christmas. We're going to film that one as well and stick it on YouTube. So,
maybe. Watch this space.
Oh, I thought we were. Anyway, we hope you found this podcast very informal. Get in touch if you want to get in touch. We hope you have a lovely Friday if you're listening on Friday, and a lovely weekend if you're listening on Friday. If not, enjoy the rest of your day. We will see you next week with our Christmas special.
We can't wait. Woo! See you next week.
Bye.
You have been listening to Tina Chat with Quartz Academy.
If you have any questions or things you want to know, visit our website at www.quartzacademy.co.uk or email us info@quartzacademy.co.uk.
You can also find us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok.
Thanks for listening.
We're so happy you're here. See you next week.
Bye.